Greetings. Here I am back for another Tech Tuesday, number 8. Now, I know it's been a while since the last one. I think it was just before I went to Klingenthal for my Seidel Expert workshop. And I said I'd be back in a couple of weeks, but it's probably been more than a month now. I'm afraid I just got really busy with a lot of missions and doing tech rather than talking about it, I guess. Well, that's just sort of how it goes with me. I'm sort of a man of the moment, really. I just go with my current obsession, and if I'm in the flow of a new idea, it's hard to break off and spend quite a lot of time concentrating on something else, because all I want to do is just do that one thing. So what I've decided is that the Tech Tuesdays from now on, they're going to be sort of intermittent based on when I feel like in the mood to do one. They'll always be on Tuesdays, but they won't be every Tuesday. So I hope you don't mind about that. Well, I've got a really cool invention to talk about this Tuesday, and it's my Octaharp Selectable. Now, the Octaharp Selectable is a harp that I started designing. You can see on my screen here, I think it goes back to about April 2017. So what's that? That's 6 years ago. And I brought it out towards the end of that year, I think, for a while. But then got focused on other things, and it sort of lapsed and became a discontinued product. But people have been remembering the Octaharp Selectable, and this year I've been getting quite a few people saying, is it still available? Am I going to bring it back? One of them was Gregory Hommett from America, who's a fantastic rack player. And he got in touch with me a few months ago. He'd seen my Octaharp Selectable online, and he'd really like to get hold of one, because what he wants to do is remove the spring in there. I'll show you how that works in a second. Remove the spring so that he can actually put the rear harp in the rack and move the front harp with his mouth and switch between octaves and single notes, that way in a rack, which I'd never thought of before. So anyway, I sent a parts kit to Greg a wee while ago, and I'm really curious to see what he does with that, because, as I say, he's a brilliant rack player, so this could be a really interesting new sound. So here it is. It's 2 harps in line. I've got my other Octaharp, which is 1 harp stacked above the other, and that's permanently in octaves. But this one here can be played either as a single harp, or when you move the harps together, in octave sounds. So that's what makes it the Selectable, gives it the Selectable name. Here are the combs, and maybe I can illustrate this when I move the combs together. So right now they're out of line, but when I move them into that line, you should see some little light appearing at the back, and that's basically your air would flow from the front harp to the back. So just to illustrate it, so if I play a little, just play a scale in the middle octave. Okay, so basically you can hear that I played a single note line, and then moved the rear harp into line with my thumb, and you get that big octave sound. And it's great for, say if you're playing a melody, you can switch between single notes and octaves. So that's melodies. It's good for rhythm playing as well. You get big fat chords. You get double your normal number of chords down the bottom end when playing rhythm harp. So you can go. And you can throw in different lines on the front harp in between your rhythm with both harps. Okay, so it's all sorts of things you can do with it. You can get sort of, strange little effects like that. If you do octaves, you get a double octave. You get your octave on the front harp plus the octave on the back harp. So you're actually playing, instead of 2 notes, you're playing 4 notes at once. As I say, I started designing this in about 2017, and it's been through heaps of different iterations. Each one laboriously designed and then printed out, tested. To start with, it was a fairly short harp, but then as time went on, I made it a bit wider so that I could get the octave on the 10th hole, which I wasn't able to before. And I added a little spring on the side, So that's this little, there's a little spring just in there, which I don't think you can actually see, but that's what holds them apart and makes them spring back when you release the harp. So that sort of came in a bit later. So yeah, it sort of ended up about November 17 on the Hohner version. Then I made a Suzuki version, which works with the Mungie and the low Mungie. And the last one I made was a Seidel version, which is for the the Seidel 1847 and the Seidel low harps. And this file here, when you see them things looking like that, that's actually how it goes on my 3D printer. It lies on the back here. These parts all lie on the back of on the 3D printer, and that's how I print them. But obviously these are the two harps together. And you can see when they're in line, you can see the holes lining up there. One late feature of the design, which is included, is a little locking pin. So if you do want to lock your harps together to play fully octave all the time, you can just put this little pin on this little hole at the back here, move the harps together, put the pin in, and now it's a permanent octave harp until you release the pin. To be honest, I don't use that much because I'm switching between octave and single notes all the time. But if you did just want pure octave, that will give you the pure octave sound all the time. So as with the previous release, I'm selling this as a raw parts kit for those who've got reasonably good skills and want to make one for themselves. And I've made a really comprehensive video showing how to make it. But if you want to get your Octaharp Selectable ready-made out of the box with all sorts of extra touches like slot embossing and all sorts of things, a couple of my recommended customizers have already made samples with my raw parts. They are Andre Coelho and Kenya Pollard. Others might be added in the future, but at the moment Andre and Kenya are ready to take your orders for the Octaharp Selectable. I guarantee they'll make a fantastic job, and the harp will just come playing beautifully when it comes to you from them. Andre just loves it. He's been sending me videos he's been making with his sample, and he's coming up with all sorts of stuff that I hadn't really thought of for the Octaharp Selectable. So here's a little selection of Andre playing his sample. Now, in Andre's case, he's left the front harp unvalved. So that means he can get overblows and it can be played totally as a normal harp. I actually recommend it should be half valved. That's what I do with mine. I find it just balances up the sound between the blows and the draws better, in my opinion. To my mind, the rear harp should be fully valved, with valves all throughout the whole harp, inside and outside. And a real feature of the second release of the Octaharp Selectable is that I'm releasing it with my new gasket valves. These are so easy to fit. You just basically slip them in. These ones go inside the harp. That's the Richter version. That's the full valved version for the rear harp. And then I've got a couple of outside valves as well. And you can shorten these if you want to. You can just use the top 4 valves just with your pair of scissors, and they just stick on the outside. So fitting valves in these harps is super easy. So there it is, the Octaharp Selectable, backed by popular demand. I'm really pleased to be releasing it again because it's one of my favourite inventions. It works really well, and it gives you a really easy way to get a fatter, richer sound. Bye for now.